There are some people that are extremely blessed with talent that can get there, but they don't last long. But those who get there and make it, your whole life is obsessed with whatever it takes to get there, and you have to sacrifice.
As far as coming from a smaller school, you're gonna have to do more work outside of football to kind of get yourself out there too.
You may only get 1 or 2 opportunities, but in those 1 or 2 opportunities, you have to shock the world.
What advice could you give to that parent? I hear you explaining that an agent's going to be relatable to a player. They might hang out with them or whatever. But what does a parent need to know?
A lot of guys, when they come out of college and they get ready to go to the league, they are more concerned about the lifestyle and what the league can do for you rather than what you have to do to stay there.
Everybody's talented. You don't get to the league unless you're good. You probably won't separate yourself by just being talented.
Welcome to Courage, Comebacks, and Conversations. I'm Susan Lee, business leader, life and career coach, storyteller, wife, and mother. We're bringing you real stories. From athletes chasing their dream to entrepreneurs who left corporate America to start their own business, professionals rebuilding after setbacks, from women breaking barriers in male-dominated fields, and to first in their families who graduate from college. Every story reminds us that courage connects us, and who doesn't like to hear a comeback story? I'm glad you're here. Let's get into it. I'm so excited because today we're having a conversation about the NFL draft, NIL, and football agents. What every athlete needs to know. Welcome to Courage, Comebacks, and Conversations. I'm Susan Lee, and I'm here with Ed Lee, my son. Hello, Ed. Today's conversation is for college athletes and their families who are trying to understand what really happens between college football and the NFL. With NIL, the transfer portal, and the NFL draft, there's more opportunity than ever, but also more decisions that can impact your future in ways most athletes don't fully understand. So today we're sitting down with the infamous Roosevelt Barnes. Hello, Roosevelt.
Hello.
A former NFL player and a longtime agent to talk about how the draft process really works, how agents pursue talent, and what athletes need to know before making their next move. And full transparency, Roosevelt also represented Ed. So this is a conversation that comes from real experience, not just theory. So let's get into it. All right, guys. Now, you know me, don't know football as much as you two do, so I'm going to defer to you. I'm going to let Ed take over. And I'm going to sit back and enjoy this conversation.
Okay, Roosevelt, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I appreciate being on the podcast. I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Went to college on a basketball scholarship, played football, basketball, baseball in college. Ended up my 5th year, went back and played football, got drafted, played in the NFL with my best friend, Ed Lee Sr., back in Detroit. After I was done playing, when I played, there were not a lot of African-American Black agents. My partner and I felt like, why couldn't we do it at a high level? And started representing players about 40 years ago. So I've been in the game. I've seen a lot of changes over the years, and it's still changing and continue to learn to adapt to all the changes.
Okay, and so I feel like one thing that probably stays the same is what it takes to get to that next level. What do you think is kind of misunderstood with college athletes in what it takes to get to the NFL?
Yeah, that's a great question. To get from college into the NFL, or even it starts even earlier than that. People don't understand at the next level at the NFL, you hear fans, just people talk about guys that are in the NFL that, oh, he's trash. No one's trash in the NFL. No one. Everybody in the NFL is the best of the best in the world. So they don't understand how hard it is to get there. Matter of fact, if you get a college scholarship, I'm talking about at any level, you're one of the best athletes in the world as well, because it's hard to get there. So you're the elite of the elite to get to the NFL. And so you have to be totally committed. There are some people that are extremely blessed with talent that can get there, but they don't last long. But those who get there and make it, your whole life is obsessed with whatever it takes to get there, and you have to sacrifice.
Now that kind of leads me into the next question. So when it comes to the NFL draft, talent is not the only thing that they're evaluating. So what are some other things that players should focus on when it comes to the draft and their evaluation process?
No, talent isn't the only thing. Talent is not the only thing. And talent alone is not going to get you to the NFL. The NFL starts their investigating process from the time you are in college. They start watching. They watch everybody. And when the closer you get to being draft eligible for football, you have to wait 3 years after your graduating class in high school before you're eligible for the draft. But they look into everything. They look into your family. They look into your grades. They look into if you're smoking weed, if you're getting high, if you're slapping women. They're looking at your character. I'm talking about all the way back. They'll go all the way back to your elementary school teachers. And so it's not just being talented, run fast, jump high, catch the ball, get sacks. If you don't have, they're looking at character. And so the decisions that you make as a young person can affect your ability to get to the league. Now, the more talent you have, quite honest, the more talent you have, the more mistakes you can make. But they're looking at those things because they're going to invest a lot of money in you, and you're going to represent their organization. And so they want to know if you are what type of character you have. Are you responsible? Do you show up? Are you a self-motivator? All those things are important to NFL teams when they're looking at drafting you or bringing you into the organization. So a lot of guys don't understand that keeping it real, or I'm going back, I want to be true to where I came from. You got to let a lot of people, a lot of things go if you're trying to get to the next level.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So there's also a lot of talented guys who don't end up getting drafted, right? What do those opportunities look like following the draft? Could you take us through that process?
Yeah, it's tough. When you don't get drafted, again, you have to have some. You do have to have some stats and a good career when you are in college for NFL teams to take a look at you. Production is so important. And then you have to have certain traits, whatever position you play. Sometimes there are outliers where guys are just big, huge human beings that's never played football before, and they may have played rugby or some other sport, and then because of some natural traits, teams will give you a chance. Or if you are, let's say, a wide receiver or a DB, particularly a wide receiver, and you run extremely fast, they may give you an opportunity there. But typically you have to have some production in college in order for the NFL to take a look at you. And then if you don't get drafted, You have to do really well at your school's pro day or at a pro day, and so show some type of trait, something that translates to the next level.
Okay. So for the ones who do have that trait and they get the opportunity after the draft, what is the main thing that will keep them on a roster?
Well, that's a great question too. Guys who don't get drafted or guys who get drafted in the 6th, 7th round, they're all in the same boat. Everybody's in the same boat, but there's some people that are in the single suite in the crew on the cruise, and then there's some people that's actually in the rowboat and they rowing the boat. But 6th, 7th rounders, free agent, they call them priority free agents or just free agents. They're all in the same boat. You have to come in and you have to be willing to do whatever and show people that you're the hardest worker there. Because you're not going to get very many opportunities. You have to stay healthy as well. Health is a big thing. And you may only get 1 or 2 opportunities. But in those 1 or 2 opportunities, you have to shock the world. And the biggest thing that guys have to do is make sure that their mind is right when they get in there. When you go in there, I'm coming to take a job. Now you respect the veterans that are there, but it's only to a point where I'm here to take somebody's job. And you can't feel sorry for yourself. You're gonna see guys when you get to camp that got drafted that you know that you're better than. But because they had different circumstances, they may have gone to a bigger school, they had certain circumstances that was in their favor. Hey, means nothing when you get between those lines. And so that's what I tell guys. Go in with supreme confidence. Now, confidence comes from how hard you work off the field. You can't fool yourself. If you haven't put the work in, you can talk all you want. I'm going to go in here and do now. You know you didn't put the work in. But if you put the work in, when you get there, you're like, man, these dudes, they're not better than me. But you're only going to get 1 or 2 chances. And you got to take advantage of that.
So I'm going to ask a question real quick. Just because you two are on this call, and I know that the big schools tend to scout and recruit players, but like Ed went to a small school. He went to Rhode Island. Talk to me about what it took between the two of you for Ed to get the opportunity to go to an NFL team.
Well, first of all, Ed did the majority of the work. If Ed didn't perform the way he did when he got his opportunities in college, he would never have gotten an opportunity in the NFL. And unfortunately, I mean, if Ed was playing in today's college atmosphere, he wouldn't have stayed at Rhode Island like he did. He would have been at a Power 4 school because the landscape has changed tremendously since he was in school. You go to a school like Rhode Island where Ed went and you put up the numbers he put up, and you don't even have to put up those kind of numbers. You just can have some catches. And the bigger schools will come get you because they would rather have a seasoned college guy than to recruit a high school kid. So that's how things have changed now. But in Ed's particular case, once he got his opportunity at Rhode Island, he put on a show. That was the bottom line. He put on a show. And every punt return, kick returns, they throwing the ball, whatever they had him do, he played really, really well. And that's what got the attention of the NFL scouts. Then we and I called teams through the year And then particularly after the season, it asked, what did he need to do? He got invited to a couple All-Star games, got invited to an All-Star game, played really well. And then after the season, we started training and get ready for, hopefully we were hoping he got invited to the combine. And if you don't get invited to the combine as a prospect, don't let that deter you either. You got to still stay locked in because you're going to get an opportunity at your pro day. And again, whether it's a combine, your pro day, whatever, you have to have a trait or a couple traits that translates into the next level. Ed worked his tail off, and his greatest assets were his route running, his speed, his quickness, and his hands. He was able to demonstrate that during his pro day, and from their evaluation and us calling and things, he got an opportunity to go get invited to a training camp, which is, when you look at all of the guys that come out every year, it is a phenomenal accomplishment to even get invited to a camp.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he said it all. I mean, it was definitely an uphill battle as far as coming from a smaller school. You're gonna have to do more work outside of football to like kind of get yourself out there too. But yeah, like you said, I mean, you just have to do what it takes. I mean, you're gonna have to sacrifice. So, yeah, that's what I would say. But shifting into your agent perspective, right? At what point do you start to focus on a player, and what would make you decide that would be somebody you would want to represent?
Well, again, the game has changed so much with NIL and things like that. Now, when you start talking about prospects that you think can get to the NFL, in the past you couldn't. It's still the same. You have to be 3 years removed from your high school graduating class in order for you to be eligible for the draft. So in the past, you could wait to start recruiting people because they had to go to college. It was 3 years in college. So you could wait until, after their maybe freshman year or sophomore year, and you see a guy that has some potential, you say, okay, and you start talking to NFL teams about it. They say, yeah, there's a big kid down there. There's a big offensive tackle down at Maryland, man. He can really play. So you could kind of ease your way into recruiting. But with NIL and the rev share, you have to start recruiting guys now out of high school, because these agents that do just that, they form relationships with young players. And so it makes it tougher for you to come in and just want to represent them when it's time to go to the NFL. So you have to start identifying players earlier. The way that the business is now, you have to start identifying guys in high school and try to form some type of relationship with them, the parents, so you can show them that you're competent at what you do, and you can help guide them when it's time for them to go to the league. Now, there's a lot more risk because you're spending a lot more time, your time, your money, your all of those things. It's a longer massage. It's a longer recruiting window. So you have to try to be smart in when you're using your resources, which guys to go after. But you have to start now. You have to start recruiting guys a lot earlier.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good agents, but there's also a lot of not so good agents. What should, as a player, what should he be looking for in those conversations that, where he can decipher whether, he's has good intentions or, the intentions aren't as good? Like, what should a player look for when they're talking to an agent?
Well, I think that integrity is one of the biggest things. Um, there are agents out here that are transactional agents. All they want you, they want to sign you, they want to get you in a deal, so they get their fee, and they move it on to the next person. And so now all agents, there's going to be transactions, but it's the agent really looking out for your best interest, and has his track record shown that he has integrity, and can he get the job done? I think those are the things that are important. Is he really looking out for you as an individual, and not just because the better player you are, the better player you are, the more money he's gonna make. But also, is he structuring deals? Does he have a track record of structuring deals and putting the time in to his clients that will allow them to be successful on and off the field for the duration of their careers, and then even after? And so you have to ask a lot of questions like that, and really see what they're all about. Some agents are trying to be your buddy, and it works. They're in the club with you. They're in the club before you in the club. And they will, whatever you want to do. They smoking weed with you and everything else. Now, I personally would not choose an agent like that, nor would I try to be. I'm not that type of agent. I am an agent very much like, now I'm more seasoned, but I wouldn't even do it with with a person around your own age. Now, can they hang out with you? But if they are out there popping bottles more than you, are they really going to take care of your business? They're supposed to be there to look out for you. And so my approach is pretty much anything that these young men that we represent and I represent, I've seen it. I've either seen it, been through it, or had somebody to go through it. So eventually we're going to be friends. No different than Ed right now. Your parents, they're your parents, but they're more your friends now.
No, I'm not his friend. I'm not his friend. I'm still
a friend as a parent. I remember my mother told me, "I'm not your friend, I'm your mama." Now she told me that when I was younger.
That's right.
But really, when I got older, she was always my friend.
Mm-hmm.
She always loved me like that.
I want to ask you about parents, right? I want to ask you from the perspective of a parent who's working with their son to find an agent. What advice could you give to that parent? I hear you explaining that an agent's going to be relatable to a player. They might hang out with them or whatever. But what does a parent need to know? And what should they be looking for?
Well, typically, what parents should be looking for in an agent. Well, first of all, again, my approach to this is a little different. The guys that we're recruiting, they're typically 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, maybe 25. But they are young people, okay? And they really don't know. They think they know, but they don't know. So some parents don't know, but they need to be looking for the same things that I just talked about: integrity, and is this person trustworthy? Is this person hanging out with their son at the club all night, kicking it harder than them. And so spending more money on wild, crazy stuff more than players do. I think those things are indicators of what their priorities are.
Can you talk about, you're talking about, you've already mentioned about the young agents. Can you talk about, a seasoned agent? What do they bring to the table in terms of preparing an athlete emotionally, physically? Can you talk about that part?
Yeah, well, a seasoned agent is going to, because we've been through all those type of things. We're going to try to make sure you stay focused on the task at hand, and what's most important. A lot of guys, when they come out of college and they get ready to go to the league, they are more concerned about the lifestyle and what the league can do for you rather than what you have to do to stay there. And so it's not that we don't want you to have things, but what we want you to do is not be in there for a cup of coffee, but have a career. Therefore, you have to prioritize things and not get caught up in the, particularly now with social media. That stuff is not real, and that's not the real lifestyle. So what I always try to do is help players keep the main thing the main thing. The main thing is you got to be in shape, you got to know your playbook, and you got to be productive when you get there, because those people don't love you, and you have a lot more responsibility on yourself. You're not on scholarship. This is a real job. College is a job now. It always has been, but in the pros, they don't care, and they're always looking to replace you. Therefore, you have to, like we talked about earlier, you have to cut some things out. Are you going to have a good time? Yes, but you need to make sure that you are always on point and focused on the task at hand. This is real work, and they will replace you quickly. And so I always try to emphasize that. It's not that we don't want you to have things. It's not that we don't want you to have fun. But fun is staying in the league for 10, 11, 12 years if you can, or as long as you can, because there's no other place that you're going to make the money that you're going to make. So you need to sacrifice and let some things go. Those are the things that I try to emphasize.
So, Edward, what kind of advice did Roosevelt give you when you signed with the Patriots and you were in training camp?
I mean, like he talked about earlier, like everybody's talented. Like you don't get to the league unless you're good. So that you probably won't separate yourself by just being talented. You have to do the little things or the other things. So special teams, volunteering for reps, whether it's scout team or whatever it is, you kind of have to go the extra mile. And that's kind of what he was just preaching to me in my time there. So
Get to know the special teams coach. Get to know whatever. If they ask you to go get coffee, hustle and go get it. Be the best at whatever they ask you to do. And that's what gets people's attention. One play can turn your whole career around.
okay, so shifting to NIL is a big thing now. What do athletes need to understand before they start signing NIL deals? What should they look for?
They should always have a competent individual read the contract, because NIL cuts both ways. People complain about players leaving, but universities are putting clauses and structuring contracts where you can be taken advantage of. And so you need to always make sure that you have a competent individual read over the contract before you sign something. I know a person right now not just football. A basketball player, female basketball player signed with an agent. She wants to get out of her contract, but the way the language is written, she's stuck with that agent until she gets out of college. She's just a sophomore in college right now. So any money that she would make, even if she fired them, they get their percentage, no matter what. So she's stuck with them if she gets to the WNBA. So I would say any athlete that's playing collegiate sports right now, make sure you have a competent agent that's looking out for you, and make sure you read everything. Now, and you have to understand your leverage. If you're a great player, and this is in any sport at any level, you always have leverage. Just make sure that you use it properly, but you must read the contract. Don't trust that they're going, it's going to be okay. No, it's not going to be okay. You read through it, you change the clauses, you get the best language that you can get for yourself.
Now, you're talking about someone under 21 understanding language. How much, the question I have is, how much money is on the table here? What are you seeing in terms of money that's being exchanged under an NIL contract?
Well, I'm not saying that the player has to be smart enough to know what he knows. The player and the parents of young players need to make sure that they get, again, a competent agent with integrity to make sure that they read through everything. I'm not necessarily saying that the player needs to do that, or even the parents, but they need to find somebody who does, because there's a lot of money involved. There are basketball players making $4 or $5 million a year. There's football players that's making $3, $4, $5 million a year. So guys are coming out of high school making half $500,000 to $1 million a year. I mean, that's more money than it's a lot of money. I've heard, I've worked with some people coming out of high school. They got $100,000 and they were upset. It's like, all I'm getting is $100,000. That's a lot of money in real life. All I'm getting is $50,000. $50,000 plus your scholarship. That's a lot of money. So you just need to make sure that you have somebody that's looking out for your best interests by reading through the contracts, and then also making sure you get your fair market value.
I've watched lots of agents approach parents, sit next to them at the, football game, wearing big diamond rings, and, really kind of putting the, I'm not going to call it the car salesman pitch, but the pitch on them in the stands. What do you think about that?
Well, everybody has their own approach and their own style. And some people are attracted to that. I think that that's not my approach. I think that you don't see any commercials on television with people. Bentleys they're not advertising during the football game, but Kias are. Bentleys are Bentleys. They don't have to advertise. You can't even afford, if you can't afford a Bentley, then don't even come into the dealership.
So you're saying a good agent does not have to be flashy?
You don't have to go out there and you got diamonds on, and like I said, you're changing the way you talk and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's, you're a Kia. And a Kia is a good car.
Yeah.
For some people. But if you really want quality in a Bentley, that's my approach. I'm going to do a good job. Like I said, I'm not trying to buy you. I want my quality of work to show that I'm going to add value to the process if and when you sign with me.
Okay, another question I have for you, Roosevelt, is you just mentioned all that money. I can't imagine a high schooler. I can't even imagine when Ed was in high school handing him $100,000, you know, as he's graduating from high school at, 17 or 18 years old, let alone, a couple of million in college. I can't imagine that. What kind of financial advice do you give your players, or do you refer them to someone else to help them manage that type of money? Because that's a lot of money coming at some young people who have probably never had that opportunity to have that money before.
That's a great question. Well, what I try to do is, because it's not just the player, sometimes the whole family, they've never seen that kind of money before. So you have to assess that situation as well. Many times, parents, uncles, cousins, whatever, they're more anxious for the player to get the money because they feel like they made it too. So sometimes you have to educate the entire family. Now, that can alienate you, because if you are giving, sometimes people don't want to hear what you have to say. Like, mama can't just go out and get her a 5,000 square foot home because her son is getting ready to go to University of Miami and get $500,000. Everybody thinks they've made it. $500,000, that's $500,000 first. Then you got to pay taxes. Then he got to live. It's all the other kind of stuff too. So depends. I think it's an individual thing. I think it's depends on the player and his surroundings. Some situations are easier to deal with than others. When a young man is making a certain amount of money, he's making money, and then the people around him are stable, then he has a better foundation, and it's an easier process to educate him and the people around me because they have a foundation. Other situations, you may have a player, and he's got siblings, he's got a mama, he's got uncles, and everybody got the hand out, and you have and he feels there's such thing as feeling guilty that you made it, and you have to, and you feel like a responsibility to take care of everybody. Well, I always try to tell young men, well, and the families, eventually he may be able to take care of everybody. He can't do it right now on $500,000 coming out of high school. He can't do it on his first contract coming out of the pros. He can't do it. It's not enough money for everybody to make it. So everybody's got to wait. Now, if he gets to his second contract and third contract, and he's got 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 50, 60, $70 million, like some clients that I have, well, then they can take care of it. But you can't have him spend all his money first, because he's just getting from high school to college or college to the pros, and everybody think they're gonna make it. And I try to tell players, you have to be able to tell people no. And if you can't tell them no, allow me to tell them no. But when your girlfriend or your mama or your uncle or your cousin or your daddy comes along and says, well, he's not looking out for you. No, really, I am. Because you have to learn how to say no to people so you can lay the foundation. The bigger the house, the bigger the foundation. So you have to lay a strong foundation so you'll be able to take care of people for a lifetime rather than just a season. And that's basically my philosophy when I'm talking to young people. Money comes quickly.
So you were just mentioning some clients that you had that made a good amount of money. What are some of the notable clients that you've had in the past or now?
Well, I've represented 56 first rounders over the years. I don't know how many total clients. But Derek Brooks, Walter Jones, Curtis Martin, Simeon Rice, Richard Seymour. I mean, several Hall of Famers. Leonard Williams just won the Super Bowl this year. So just to name a few guys, I represent some of the best over the last Rob Woodson, Dion, over the last 40 years. So I try to be humble and put Christ first, but I'm good at what I do.
Yeah.
Didn't you at one point, and I don't know if we're going to take this out, but did you at one point represent Ray Lewis?
Yes, I did.
Tell us about that.
Oh, he's a great player. And so he became the highest defensive paid player when I represented him at the time. So again, like I said, I've had a lot of successes over the year. But I think that for me anyway, representing guys like that, there's a thrill in it. But I think I get a bigger rush when you help the underdog. A guy like Ed
Mm-hmm.
to get an opportunity. And he actually made it, bar injury. And if he had been a first round pick, they would have let him get healthy. But again, because he was a priority free agent, they move on. A guy like Vince Williams, who was a 6th round pick, and the things that you preach to him, because you preach the same thing whether you're an undrafted free agent or you're first pick in the draft. The philosophy works. Vince Williams was a 6th round pick. He followed the plan. I told him, if you follow the plan, you'll never have to work again if you choose not to. Well, Vince was a 6th round pick. He never made $20 million a year. But right now, he doesn't have to work. He played 9 years, deferred gratification on his money, invested his money. Now he never has to work again. It can work for anybody at different levels. So I think I've gotten more joy out of those type of situations than setting records with contracts.
I think that really a lot of people haven't heard Ed's podcast yet because he does tell a story. But Ed was really a long shot. Ed did not have any stats up to his senior year. And then he blew it out a senior year, and then you were able to advise him. But what was the work looking like? And I'll ask you or Ed, what work did you put in? Because you can't just perform 1 year without putting work in over time. What's the type of work? When you guys talk about putting the work in, what is that? What does putting the work in mean?
I mean, Roosevelt said it earlier, it's sacrifice. Like you won't be able to go to parties or even go home for some holidays. Like you're gonna have to sacrifice family time, fun, to really work on your craft. And that's good. That's what it's gonna take, especially a long shot, like you said.
Then it also, I think that people like Ed here, the mental toughness that it takes when you know that you know that you know that you're good enough. You know it down to your soul, but you don't get the opportunity. And then to keep going to practice, keep doing the extra stuff. It is easy to quit. And then those thoughts come to your head. Oh man, it ain't worth it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I don't want to, because it's painful to go out there and do what it takes to make it, and then you don't get an opportunity. That's painful. And you have to be strong mentally to endure all that. And then when you get your opportunity, to be ready, because you're only going to get one. And so that's what it takes. It's not just the physical part. It's not just the physical part of running, jumping, lifting weights. You have to be able to endure the mental challenges of not getting there, waiting for your turn, and nothing seems to go right. Nothing. But then, boom, something happens. Somebody gets hurt. Something happens, a circumstance, and you're ready. And then, boom, you go. It's off.
All right.
That's why I say in situations like that, you get more joy. You might not make as much money, but you get more joy out of those situations when you've seen a young man follow his dreams against all odds,
Mm-hmm.
then make it.
That is absolutely true. I've seen it for myself. If you're an athlete listening and you truly believe you have what it takes, then your dream is possible. But belief alone isn't enough. You have to educate yourself, learn the system, understand about the NFL, learn about NILs, and the decisions that come with it. Take your time and ask the right questions, and be intentional about the people that you trust. The players who make it don't just work hard. They prepare differently. They think differently, and they move with purpose. Roosevelt, how can people get in touch with you?
You can reach out to my email, barnes3128@gmail.com, via an email, or you can reach out to me on my phone, 260-414-1944. I'm easy to get in touch with. I'm always about helping people. And sometimes, it may be that you're just not ready. But I'll do whatever I can to help. I enjoy seeing young people succeed.
Well, guys, that's a wrap. Thank you both for your time. And thank you all for listening to Courage, Comebacks, and Conversations. If you feel that you know someone who could benefit from this episode, please feel free to share it with them. And let's just buckle our seats and see what happens at the NFL draft this year. Thanks, guys.
Chasing purpose, redefine time. Vision clear, the future's near. Trusting God without fear. We've been through the highs and lows. Refuse to quit.